I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive.
All right, sorry about that. We've got so many people here that I think we are kind of melting the servers, which is a good sign. Obviously very excited to have Governor DeSantis make this. All right, great. Looks like we're ready to go here. All right, I'd like to welcome Governor DeSantis for this historic. We're just trying to get it going because there's so many people.
Now it's quiet. Now watch this drive.
So, Apple sent me a sample device.
Damn it!
It's top notch. I'm resending everything
You look
like
like
I said
Wall-E.
about it. It's so good.
I love your eyes. That's hilarious.
Because it's got the eye thing.
You can see it.
It's really good. You can
So-
barely even. I barely even feel like it's on my face right now.
That's like, well, I barely even feel like it's on your face. I can't even.
Yeah, I
you
can't even
probably
tell.
can't even tell. Right?
Yeah, when your
you
camera
look the
turned back
same.
on, I was like, what? Where was? I was still waiting for it, and I was like, oh, I think I
probably
see like a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's he doing? I thought you were gonna do like some body paint or something. For,
Yeah.
like, soccer. Fan.
Yeah, I mean,
Like a you're a soccer
I feel
fan.
pretty natural. I feel like I could walk around in public.
No weird looks.
Train station.
Yeah. In
On-
fact,
on the
everyone would
plane.
think
Yeah.
you're really cool, and they would say, "Hey, do you want to hang? Can I buy you a beer, please?" You
Yeah.
look like
Yeah.
you look like the kind of guy who has or had $3,500.
I'm assuming I'm pointing at you guys right now, but
You are.
okay.
You're looking us straight right in the eye.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's enough of that bit. Oh man,
That looks
all right.
good. What is that
Okay.
actually? Is that a Quest?
it's
That's the
the
Oculus
Quest.
Quest 2.
Yeah, it's the Quest one, Quest 2 or whatever.
Quest 2, baby. I got one of those. Well, my kid has one of those. And it's okay.
Okay, we're gonna get into this, but you're just telling me this for the first time that I'm probably gonna be the one who has the least pessimistic view of the new
Yeah,
headset.
I know, you
I'm
are.
the only one of us
You are.
that doesn't own a VR headset.
I was about to start with those two things. One, are you gonna buy it?
Wait, what are we
yeah.
talking about?
Apple announced the Vision.
The Apple Vision
Pro.
That's right.
It's just Apple Vision Pro, right? That's
The
it.
Apple Vision Pro.
Super expensive, super fancy headset.
I did see this.
Yeah.
It's like $3,000.
It's $3,500.
$3,500.
Well, I'm sorry, it's $3,499. It's fancy, as Apple tends to be. It has a lot more sensors than your average headset.
A lot more pixels.
A lot more pixels. It has like a 4K display basically per eyeball. Has a lot of really cool features. Build quality is probably top notch. Some of its enhancements are, one, the Apple ecosystem. You can't compete with that. So,
Wow, really? You just said that?
I mean, you can't. It
Yeah,
integrates
the Apple
with. So if you have a MacBook,
it is pretty awesome.
you can do the monitor display extension kind of thing where it basically gives you the biggest display you'd ever imagine.
You just
could
look
exist.
at the computer and it does it.
Yeah, you just look at the computer, automatically connects. You know, all that stuff you
The
can't
Apple
compete with.
stuff.
Has the ability to not only see the room in front of you, but see it in pretty high fidelity. So you can have as much immersion as you want in the VR space,
Oh, that's cool.
which is, that's neat, you know?
Yeah, it's just
so you could
there's
basically
a knob
just
that you spin to like increase how much of it is the real environment and how much of it is your whatever thing you're experiencing.
Yeah, it's an actual like physical knob that you rub, and then you can change
Very
that
cool.
kind of stuff.
That is the
so
exact
essentially,
phrasing
I mean,
they used in the keynote.
that is Tim Cook. That was
The
a quote.
rub and knob, he said.
And so you could watch a theater size screen in your living room. You know, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's got the best sound, the best picture, and then the sensor stuff. The front facing cameras not only provide the room, but then the rear facing cameras have really accurate eye tracking. Instead of having a controller like in the Meta Quest, it just watches your eyes. So the user interface, you interact with it with your eyeballs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you look at
So you just look at
icons,
things.
and then you just make this gesture, and it'll
With your
launch. Or
So it doesn't have like a controller at all?
no controller. There is a game controller that they have in the announcement, but I don't know if it's like a proprietary
I think it was
thing
just a
or if
PS5
it's a
controller.
third party.
I mean, that's cool and all, but like, how do you play games and stuff with it?
Well, that's the thing. They're not focusing on games.
Well, what the fuck? Who's going to
They're
use it?
focusing on productivity. So they're
No one's going to use that.
Thank you very much. They're focusing on integrating into like the workplace, integrating into your workflow as a professional.
So let me get this straight. So the exact same thing that Meta was trying to do, and probably Microsoft.
I would
say this is
focused on it.
closer
And
to
Microsoft
like
is-
the HoloLens
it's-
effort.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, the same thing that they're all trying to do, and it's got the same fucking problems as all of the other ones, except that it's also...
But it's made by Apple.
It's cool as shit.
But it's
though.
also limited to Apple devices, I'm sure.
Well,
Yeah, why?
I'm assuming it'll work on other. You
I don't
just won't
think
have
so.
that ecosystem.
It has its own.
stuff,
You do not.
know?
It does not require, other than maybe because the way that you authenticate with it is it just scans your eyes and you just plug it on and you just put it on and it knows it's you.
Scans your whole face because it does the whole image of your face thing.
Yeah. And so you have to. I
Yeah.
think there's some initial setup that requires an iPhone, but other than that, it is a standalone computer. It has the same chip as.
I think
like,
my
That's what
biggest
Marcus said. What's his last name? Brownlee or whatever.
Yeah,
The tech guy
MKBHD.
Yeah, on YouTube. That's what he said, that the iPhone is necessary for scanning because that's what he experienced when he got a demo of it. But in the video, it clearly has someone holding up the actual goggles themselves and scanning using the front-facing camera, scanning your face using.
So it's probably
because-
possible as a standalone thing.
Yeah, in the demo, they show someone using the goggles on a FaceTime call, and obviously you're not going to be on a FaceTime call with these giant goggles, even though your eyeballs can show because they're
That's the
projected
bit
on
that
the
we've
screen.
done before, where we imagine a Zoom call, but everyone's just looking at this fucking headset.
Yeah, exactly.
but that's the
so
thing,
so
like,
it does a whole AI face. It creates like this uncanny valley face.
Yeah, you don't need
like
any
this-
additional camera. Just
Yeah.
which is I'm not sold on that.
Yeah.
And Google has their own kind of pseudo realistic 3D. What's that called? Starline, Starbright,
Starlink?
Hardy's Jr.
Starlink is Elon, right?
So basically, these kind of experiences where you take a 3D rendering of a person that takes input data from them and then fills in the blank with the power of machine learning. The problem with those is you can get really close to it being realistic, but there's no point at which it's not going to feel weird or like there's something that happens that like takes you out of it. And like,
There's one point on that though. Like right now on this video call, you guys are both, coming in kind of pixelated and what have you. I mean, your average video call, it's not going to be super clear. So maybe if you guys were AI, I wouldn't be able to tell as much. But if you're expecting a 4K experience of
Right. Yeah,
a
that's a
perfectly
good point.
crisp
That's probably not gonna
webcam,
happen.
What they
it's
have
going to
to
be a
do
lot
then
more
is-
obvious.
in order for them to make it like not weird, they have to try and be really clever and disguise the ML artifacts as traditional buffering.
I'm not
or-
100% sure that you guys are real right now, so
You
we
shouldn't
can move on.
be.
We can move on.
That's
from
the
that,
world we
though.
live in, where you cannot be. You should trust no one.
I still think that it has the same problem that all of the other devices
I
have.
agree with you.
And that is that it's too expensive, and companies are not going to buy like hundreds of these things to like put in their offices.
Well, it goes back to the
Herman Miller Aaron chairs.
okay, but
That's a necessity.
And
No,
you
it's
can-
not. There's other chairs.
you can get those in bulk discounts and what have you. But to Carl's point,
I don't think they're going to do it.
in this era of every executive wants every office worker to return to the office, everybody
They're not gonna
wants
do it.
butts and seats. Where is the incentive? That's why I was saying like 2 years ago.
What the
There's
incentive
also-
is if you come in, you get to use the fancy headset, and they can't leave the building because they're too expensive.
But there's also
Three of
just
them,
like
that's all we got.
there's also an added cost. Like I understand it's like I see that there's the two camps, right? There's the ones that want butts and seats back in the office, which they're not going to
Pedophiles.
do it. They're not going to. Yeah, exactly. They're not going to do it. But
just calling it right
now. But there's
all
also maybe we're it's just our field is a little bit different, but we are all kind of responsible for having our own shit for the most part. If you want a special webcam, you're going to have to buy it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just integrated on your PC, and that's good enough for these types of companies. Like, they're not going to send you a $3,500 fucking headset at your house.
No. Well,
Like, nobody's going to do that.
But
Like,
this
they're
isn't.
not going to.
I think it's important to know. Of course, it's fucking expensive. This is not like the consumer version of this. Like, this is the and I'm just stealing this wholesale from
Yeah, but I mean-
MKBHD, but like
I mean,
it is
this
for
this is
Yeah,
like
but
you can
that's
develop I see where you're going, where you're about to go, as far as like it's a tool for professionals to develop new things within the
for
ecosystem.
it's
But
for
but that's
nerds
this.
and
Like that
kind of.
But you
kind
still
of, but you don't get.
you still need like
It doesn't
you still
spark
need
the
a lot
same
of
joy.
people to. You still
Does
need
it?
a lot of buy-in.
I mean, my kid was really happy when he uses this.
yeah, my kid loves
Right,
it.
but your kid doesn't have $3,500, so I don't give a shit. Even just looking at some of the development tool, and obviously none of us have fucking touched this thing. The tooling and the kind of ecosystem and the development tools. Of course, it was revealed at WWDC. Like this was the target audience is of course fucking everyone, but also developers, and so they revealed. Okay, here's all of the cool tooling that lets you build environments in a nice way. Also, it integrates natively with Unity. I do think that the software side of it will explode. People will put work into this. Like people will put time and effort into this in the same way that they did for like fucking Apple Watch apps. There's theoretically a lot more potential here. It's just a matter of you have to make it not suck ass to use. And yeah, you do have to make it accessible price wise. And
which it's not. At all.
but they're starting with to make it kick ass to use, and then they're gonna get to the cheaper.
I'm like,
Yeah, they're never gonna make it accessible as far as cost goes.
I'm
It's just gonna
kind
get
of
worse.
picking up what you're putting down, but at the same time, I don't think there's ever going to be mass adoption of a giant pair of ski goggles.
I don't think so either.
No, well, so mass adoption in what? Like, what's your definition of mass adoption? I don't think that this is a wearable. You can wear it, but I don't see this as like a fashion statement. I don't see this as something that you just like see people walking around with.
Even your average workday, I don't see anyone wearing it for more than
Hey, can I
20 minutes at a time.
Can I talk to you guys?
Well, so
offline
here
for
there's a
second?
big there's a big issue with all of these things. They make people sick. Just the vertigo.
Yeah,
that
actually,
these
Wall
things
Street
Well,
cause.
good
Journal,
news. Good news. They
reviewed this
thought
and
ahead of
threw
that,
up.
and they made sure that the battery life is only 2 hours long.
I know.
Yeah. No, I'm sure, but no, seriously.
You wear
like-
it in your
like-
pocket and it catches fire.
But even if there was a decent amount of adoption in like the professional space, it's like you can only wear these things for so long. Even if people could wear it, it's like a big portion of those people are going to get vertigo and get sick. Like it's not something that you just get used, that you can get used to and like keep using. I mean,
But that's not like that's not a theory. That's not like just a universal truth, right? Like it is possible that they could really, really heavily mitigate those problems. I don't know what all of the sources of those types of sensations are, but I assume a lot of it has to do with the sort of disconnect and like how laggy the experience is, how much your brain...
No, it has nothing to do with that. I mean, it's far from my experience just using it. It's just because it's too real, even in the fake spaces. It's like real enough to where you're feeling all of these senses, but something's just not.
That's what I'm saying.
something's
Like
just
your
not
brain
working.
is
Like
your
The
brain
tech
is
journalist
expecting...
at Wall Street Journal used it at a demo of it, and he threw up.
Yeah, I almost got sick one day. I mean, I did okay like one time.
The Apple
time.
device.
He was probably
Yeah,
on
I was on the Quest. I was on the Quest, and like I went up to just help my kid with something for a little while, and I was playing for like 5 minutes, and I was like, I almost threw up. But I played before, and I was fine. But like after that, I was not.
Besides that, though, this is the thing that's really intriguing me about this whole thing is all the tweets and all the YouTube videos and everyone covering this saying, yes, this is going to be developer-centric, first blush at it in 3 years, whether it looks like this or whether it's some other slimmed down thing or technology's borrowed from it that Apple innovated. It's like
Google
Apple
Glass
didn't
is pretty
innovate
awful, so.
shit. All this stuff was done. I mean, yeah, they tweaked a couple little things here and there with like more sensors so you could see your eyeballs or whatever. Apple gets so much credit for the iPhone. It wasn't the first to do what it did. It's just did it a little bit better than everybody else. You know,
A lot
they get
better,
so
though.
much
A
credit
lot
for
better.
innovating in the space.
Yeah, but it's not just about the hardware though. Like it's not just about they like.
I'm not talking about the hardware. I'm talking about the software, everything.
But it's also
Everything that
about
they did.
the ecosystem, right? Which is not them. Like I'm not saying, oh, we love these boys, don't we, folks?
Yeah, you
Maybe
are.
I'm playing devil's advocate, but well, no, I do, and I actually want to.
I think they get
You
far more
probably
credit
have two
than
of
they
these on
deserve.
order already.
No, you can't yet. You can't order them yet. But if anyone has any strings to pull,
But you tried, right? You tried
I
ordering
checked.
it. Yeah, exactly.
But because I like to play, I like to play with stuff. I don't know.
I just
got
think
tons
this
of
is the
things that
most
you can play with.
transparent product in a while that Apple has jumped into. That it's like, you guys are going to take credit for a lot of things. If the industry goes this way in 3 or 4 years, they're going to be like, yep, that was us.
It's like smart speakers. They shouldn't have done this.
You guys were way behind on the curve on this. Like there were so many other people who did
but that
very
is like,
similar things.
That's not like that's Apple's MO though, right? Like they kind of sit and wait, and then they're like, oh, here's all
Yeah,
the cool.
they've been doing that from the beginning.
Right.
I know,
And
but what I'm not saying that that's not true in previous iterations and previous products. What I'm saying is this one, it's like people are trying to like read the tea leaves and are already giving them credit for some future that they're
No,
imagining.
it is definitely like a that is
and
that
basically
is cult
they're
behavior.
pretending that like all these other, that the HoloLens or the Oculus or Quest or
Even the
all these
Google
other
Glass.
things just don't even exist.
No,
Even
They
Google Glass
never even
kinda started
existed.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
not talking about like some theoretical credit point. Of course, I'll take credit for it. Of course, there's weird nerds that are even weirder than me and want to have even more sex with the whatever VP got up there and did the very good joke that I liked a lot. My point is basically, it doesn't matter. They have such a control over these markets that, like, gun to my head, like if I had to place a bet, I would say that it does flop. I would say that it is a commercial, if not an abject failure, very underwhelming in terms of its reception, even 3-4 years from now. But I think there's a pretty decent shot that if the existing trends that they already have continue, that 5 years from now, there will be a lot more money. I mean, there's immediately going to be a lot more money in the space, but it has like found its kind of stride, like the industry. Like it actually feels like an industry instead of crypto adjacent, essentially.
I don't know.
Not yet, I don't think so. And I think everything that you just said, I think Meta should take 98% of the credit for that.
Because they lit the most money on fire.
Yeah. Because they bought Oculus, because they wrote all the tweets, because they did, I mean,
Because they
Zuckerberg
20 of those
has
billions were for to like
changed the
fund-
name of the company based on
right.
this
No, like that's what I'm saying. But,
imagined
and I think
future.
that's why the Meta Apple comparisons here are a little bit unfair in terms of trying to look at Apple and be like, oh, they're going to do this. Like when the stock crashed or whatever, like that's just because of the Meta associated. That's because of what happened with Meta when they went VR, right? Like that's what I'm going to attribute most of that initial stock
I mean,
drop.
I think the $3,500 price tag probably didn't help.
But
them.
so they don't sell as many units that you didn't even know existed 20 minutes ago. So what?
Well, I mean, the stock is being sold by people who own the stock. I mean, they think
Yeah.
it's a misstep to charge that much. I mean, it's a simple.
No, but it's much more like they anticipate that it will drop because people anticipate that it will drop. Like it's not.
yeah.
But like I think it's I don't think it's so much about the prices. I mean, I think if it was 2,000, if it was 50, if it matched the Meta Quest, I think it would have been a very similar deal. Where it's like, but
I think it was like 15 to $2,000.
But the
I
point
think
that
a
I'm
lot of
making
people-
is like
people would
this
be-
is Meta, like $50 billion they have a much smaller market cap, a much stronger called shot. Apple is risking comparatively very little here, other than reputation.
I don't know about that. I mean, they've got, they've put a lot of money into this product, obviously, and they're selling it for a lot of money. They're already pricing a lot of people out of the market, even developers, because like there's still not a lot of developers that are going to want to spend $3,000 or $3,500.
The price though is part of the marketing.
It doesn't matter. It's still expensive. You're still limiting the amount of people that can get it, and then it's very.
But it's not
limiting in
about
what
this
it can actually,
specific product.
It doesn't matter.
It does
It's-
because
it's-
it's,
No, it doesn't. Because this is the product that they pushed out. Like, it doesn't matter if it's 3 years from now. Like, it can fail in a year.
No, I'm saying that
Like-
the purpose of getting this out has like the value they're trying to generate is not just about margin on the individual units. It's they're trying to get an ecosystem built.
No,
Like,
I
they're-
understand, but they're pricing so many people out of even like trying to get into this ecosystem.
They're pricing it so
Like,
that
the
like
kids-
it's a
the people
status
that are
symbol,
using-
so people get it and use it on TikTok and make other people want to get it or feel left out for not getting it. So when they do introduce the $2,000 version, it goes fucking nuts.
Yes, but in the meantime, the biggest consumer of these things are fucking kids that want to play games, not people that
It's the
want
parents of
professional
kids.
that want professional applications. Yeah, but no one's going to buy this for their kid because it doesn't
rich
do
people might.
anything. Well, you know what I mean. There's no use for it.
The same people
there's
that
not-
buy iPads for their kids will buy these for
There's
I
games
bought
on
an iPad
iPads
for my kid, and that's
and you
like
bought
a
a Quest
fraction
for
of
your
the
kid. So
cost.
the only difference, this is a matter of degrees. This is a
No, because there's games on it and they actually want to play.
this is why they have to put something out so people make fucking games for it.
I understand that, but they're pricing a lot of people out of it already. and,
What's the right price?
Quest, I don't know, but the Quest came with like.
what the fuck are you talking
games.
about?
It's not $3,500 is not the right fucking
So what,
price. That's all I
$3,400?
gotta say. No, but let's
So how
go down
many-
to 1,500. How
1,500?
about 1,500?
Why
Yeah,
1,500?
how about 1,000?
Why?
Because it's very limiting in what it can do. Like,
you
what
think
can you
there's-
do with it?
You can make stuff on it that you can sell.
And that's it.
What else do
You can make.
did you?
I'm just saying. That's
You
what
can
I'm
make
saying.
whatever
It's like
you. It's got everything on it.
It's not.
It's
but
got whatever you
geared
can
for
dream
anybody
up.
It's not geared for anybody but professional. Sure,
Right,
you can.
that's
make
what they
things,
want
but-
using it right now. They don't want to try to sell a product that has no ecosystem. They don't want a bunch of people using it now.
But to Carl's point, there's a lot of DIY professionals that are probably priced out of this thing.
There's a lot of people priced
There's
out
a lot
of
of people that are like,
There's a lot of people priced out of
18,
MacBooks.
20-year-old. That's a different thing. Plus, you could get a MacBook used. You can get I mean, this thing is more than that. And
Could you get a Mac? Could you get a used MacBook in the first generation?
I don't know how much it costs in the first
Well, it would be
generation, but
impossible
you can
because it's the
do
first
the
generation.
same type of stuff with an alternative device. The thing about Mac is you're locked into that ecosystem. In order to do anything with that ecosystem, you have to buy that specific device.
I'm not
And
saying
that
that
is-
they are saints. I'm like that's of course like
This is the first
dark
time that
pattern.
they've launched a product in this degree of like, the iPhone was expensive, but it was a $500 phone. That was like not even comparable to something like this. Every computer they've ever released, yes, they're expensive, but they're not light years ahead of everything else.
And they're also powerhouses. Like they've always been powerhouses. You know,
Yeah,
like those. Like I mean, as far as like the graphics community is gone, like they like PCs have definitely caught up. Like over the past like
They also started a
10
whole different
years.
space, and you know, they organically grew that market share. It wasn't like they just came out claiming that this is it. I don't know. I think it's
Well,
a
like I
really
said, I
risky
think
thing.
it's really risky. I don't like how closely people are tying it to like the meta conditions because it's like they
I think
own
it is. How could you?
Meta has
possibly
no
not tie it?
existing like hardware ecosystem. They have nothing in that front. They're trying to sell people on this thing that exists on its own merit with the just this thing. This thing is, whereas Apple is selling against people who there's a million little things like that's they create products where people that are already in the ecosystem, people that have purchased the staples, there's just a million little. That's why so many people buy AirPods, even though they're 10 times more expensive than just buying a pair of headphones that you plug in. The friction that is reduced, like the little things that add up over time, that's how they upsell. Meta doesn't have anything close to that, and they also spent way more money developing their shit, and it's really gross and weird. And nobody's gushing over the tech behind the Quest, right? Like,
I mean, they were. That's
They
why
were, yeah.
The Oculus was pretty. You know,
It also came
definitely.
when it came out, it was also like pretty fucking cheap. I think it was like $300.
I mean, it's still a fairly expensive device, but I'm not really picking up what you're putting down, Drew, in this whole like you're buying.
well, we can't just all agree.
I don't even see this as the whole ecosystem thing
Yeah,
is
I
such
don't
a
buy it.
small artifact of this device. Sure, Apple fanboys are going to buy whatever, but to buy into this because of the Apple ecosystem, I don't.
Like, what is it?
Crazy.
That's kind of what I was actually going towards that. Like when you were talking about the ecosystem, Drew.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Apple is very good at their ecosystem thing, but like, and again, I haven't watched the videos on this or anything, but like, I mean, what benefit does being in the ecosystem with this thing have right now?
You can turn on your MacBook by looking at it.
I mean, you can
Yeah.
use it with your MacBook, obviously anything that's just the general software library stuff, but that's not really any different from what you could do with Google or, multiple.
Yeah.
But the difference with that in general, again, is just it's everywhere. Like you have it everywhere. But integrations,
But like,
the FaceTime, all of your shit being synced up between between your devices anyways, like to begin with. You can,
no, I mean, but that's just the normal ecosystem. Like,
right. I understand. Like,
but what does this add to it?
what does an
though?
iPad
'Cause,
add
like,
to an iPhone?
Okay, you can see your MacBook and you can do but why have this big headset on to look at a screen through a screen type thing? You know,
Well, it's
I
not
don't
about
understand
that
the
part.
point.
That part is like, except for in the context of like you're traveling, you're on a plane, you don't want a monitor, like a big ass monitor in the specific place you're in. You're in a coffee shop, you can work privately. Of course, you look like a fucking idiot, but
You're not working privately until you have the Meta muzzle. We already discussed.
we have
that.
discussed the metal muzzle.
And there's no Apple muzzle yet.
no, they'll do third party. They'll be.
You just
there's
made a
gonna be
statement
like
though, like what's the iPad add to an iPhone? It's like, I mean,
Screen
that
real estate.
Not everybody has all these devices. Like,
No,
some
I'm
people
aware of
just
that, but
have
the
an
person,
iPad.
but this is not. This is
Or
this
just
is
an
not
iPhone.
something.
Yeah.
They're not selling. This thing is not something that they're selling to somebody who doesn't already have an Apple product ever.
No, I get that. I just
which is part of the problem.
But even if you do have an Apple, like even if you are, like,
We're on the same
an Apple
page that
person-
Apple is bad company, evil.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, even if like you are like a fan of the ecosystem, I just don't see the benefit of this thing, like, at all. Like, even being in the ecosystem, like, there's just, you can do everything else without having this big thing on your head. You don't need it.
And here's the thing about the ecosystem as well. Just standing alone, which they're not doing, obviously, in this situation. They've never really succeeded at just standing alone. They've always had some integrations with they've played nicely in some capacity with some stuff. They'll run Microsoft Office or whatever. Even
No, and definitely. I mean, it supports Unity
they'll
out of the
run
box.
Chrome. They'll run other pieces of software, and their hardware will plug into something else that's non.
Well, some of those things are probably due to like legal issues, right? I mean,
well,
like
yeah.
having,
now that they have to convert everything
run,
to USB-C and all that other stuff.
Well, and having to run Chrome, like, I mean, because there's that, like, even Microsoft got bit in the ass by like not allowing the.
But what
browsers.
I'm saying is that they're assuming that this device, like an iPhone, is going to be just exclusive. They have the Vision OS or what have you. If this industry does take off, I don't know if it's going to be the same as like phones where everybody is siloed, where you have these siloed, well, mainly it's Android versus iPhone, but there's alternatives. There was a freaking Windows Phone and stuff. I don't know if VR is at its enough maturity to be able to do something like that. Because the comparison to phones falls flat in my eyes, in my opinion, because phones were ubiquitous before an iPhone. Everybody had a cell phone. Everybody was running different operating systems because the operating systems were usually tied to the manufacturers. So you had Nokia or Samsung or whatever.
A bunch of garbage.
But it was all a phone. Like everybody had a phone in their pocket. So all that was is just an upgrade. And then the ecosystem came and, obviously the first iPhone didn't even have an app store or what have you. But what I'm saying is everyone doesn't have a VR.
Right, they have to
doesn't
sell
even really
people
experience.
on
So they have
the
to sell
idea
people
of
on
VR.
everything. And I think that's they're
I don't
stepping
think they
into
sell,
this.
but
which
they don't. They're not selling you. There's one. They get a hook in one place, and then they expand out. This is just another.
I know, but I think they have, in order for this to succeed, in my eyes, you have to play nice with more of a broad, far-reaching, not just an Apple ecosystem play, but more of a, let's just talk about VR as an experience, as a useful tool, whether it's productivity or games, broadly, before we start talking about like, okay, now you're locked into the Apple ecosystem.
Can I tell you what I think it might solve that exact problem? The motherfucking web, the fucking web platform, fucking web GPU, and the 3D motion canvas, and the WebAssembly, and web workers, and the ability to run fucking whatever in a browser, and extending that to 3D AR VR development. Because it's a built-in universal standard.
You could run Unity in a browser for like 10 years now.
Yeah,
right?
you could export it to HTML canvas, the whatever.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
version.
like, that's not exactly the newest thing.
Right, but Web GPU allows essentially full access to the graphics card of the device the browser is on. And that does unlock a lot of hardware. If you can get close enough to the performance of native and have your shit just run everywhere, like that, that's you.
You're kind of proving Carl's point right now, though.
What do you mean?
With your line of, because why the hell am I going to buy a $3,500 device if I could just buy like the cheapest
Cloud.
Meta Quest, whatever?
But I think
as
the
a
answer-
developer,
Oh.
and then I'm going to develop WebG, right on the canvas. I'm going to fire up Unity, free version.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the cheapest. That's where the innovation is typically coming from.
No, I agree with that. I mean, because you can
bedroom,
develop, apps for the iPad and the expensive iPhone on an old ass gross iPhone, right? Like
you can develop them all on a non-iPhone. It's just that when you're finally ready to publish it, has to go through an Apple device.
The point I think I'm making is basically like with the Mac or the laptop, like the reason you buy a headset from Apple, this one specifically, is because you are full of hubris and God should cut you down. But if they get it cheaper, if it's 20% more expensive, the 30%, they're whatever their final consumer when they get into that lane, it will be a little more expensive than everybody else's. But for their existing customers, the reduction of friction for the hardware level day-to-day stuff is going to be worth the premium.
I don't know if I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Like you talked about this earlier, like it's the little things that add up. I have a pair of AirPods, like you said, it's all those little, why did we buy them? It's all these little creature comforts. But honestly, AirPods fuck up a lot. Like they're not, it's like, yeah, they do a lot of, they're cool when they work. But like when they're not, I'm glad they work for you fine, but they don't work for me fine. They fuck up. Like, and that's the thing. Like sometimes they cut out, or sometimes like they don't, only one of them charges, or sometimes they don't connect right, or sometimes they like disconnect on you. When they work, they're amazing. But when they don't work,
I mean, that's just technology in general. Though.
That's what I'm saying, though. But that's all Apple has, though. It's like they have these like little things that help, that make things great. And if they work, it's amazing. Yeah, but if they don't, it's just as frustrating as anything else.
One other point, though, as far as like the iPhone in comparisons to the iPhone, obviously, way more people own iPhones that don't own any other Mac product, any MacBook or anything, than not. I mean, that's just in America, especially because I'm
one of those
number one selling.
Well, no, not
cell phone in the United States. I mean, it's still like not worldwide, but my point is that $500 release and Steve Ballmer making fun of that price point and what have you. The first wave of purchases were obviously people who did not own other Apple devices. I mean, it had to be.
Well, iPods.
It's just the numbers. iPods are a similar thing, though. Like an iPod, like a lot of people owned iPods that did not own Mac. Right now, the speculation is that they're only going to sell 100,000 of these things, which is, it sounds like a lot, but it's probably nothing in comparison to.
That's 100,000 power users, essentially.
Yeah, but is that going to be enough? Like, it took iPhone dominated the industry before the ecosystem really started taking off. I mean, is that going to be enough?
I don't think it will be as successful as the iPhone. I think people that say it's people who
I wouldn't compare it. I'm measuring success by really any sort of success. I'm measuring success by any success for Meta, for Apple, for any VR headset at all. Like that whole thing, that whole idea of putting on goggles and interacting in some world or whatever, productivity tool, whatever.
I think it's going to be niche to a certain extent forever. There's no real clear, tangible benefit universally. Yeah. Like, moving from paper to computer, right? Like,
that's my point. Yeah.
No, and I don't think this is the next generation of computing. I think this is just another way of doing computing.
And let's be real, guys. Let's get to the real topic, like the real issue with this thing. Nobody wants to look like a fucking snowboarder. Okay.
No, you look like a fucking idiot, and that's one of the main reasons that this doesn't work
unless you're snowboarding. If you put these on while you're snowboarding, people will just think you just got snowboarding.
And this goes back to that Zuckerberg tweet, tech emails or whatever, tech court cases, that thing that we covered like so many episodes ago.
Yeah.
And my criticism was he was basically launching. I mean, he changed the name of the company, on this thought that it's going to be bigger than it is. I mean, I guess that's it in a nutshell. I don't understand the people that think it's going to be bigger than it is. And yes, I'm sure to some people I might sound like a Luddite right now, but I cannot see it being bigger than.
I'm not up here saying. Oh, I'm not. So here's the things that I don't want you to think I'm saying. I'm not saying Apple is beautiful. I think I like the stuff they make. It's pretty good. But I'm also not saying like they deserve to succeed. And I'm not saying that I think it will be a wild success. They're desperate to have the next iPhone. They're desperate to like be there and like own the whatever the next thing is. They didn't get the memo that we're at the end of history, for one thing. But for another, like it's mostly just like putting a shit ton of money and time and effort into something that will end up, I think, being useful or fun and like nice in some areas, but will not have that fucking like lightning in a bottle.
Which is the weird thing to me about Apple. The next thing, or one more thing rather, the big text behind Tim Cook.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me. Like every device in the last 20, 30 years that Apple has released has been marching toward universal acclaim. We're going to be the best at, a watch. Everybody fucking wears a watch. Like, oh, big deal. The pencil, like everybody has a pencil. Now you can draw on this thing. And even tablets or phones and obviously computers, speakers, all those things, the Apple TV, like all these things, really great products that can be universally used in pretty much every home.
They're fixing. They're sometimes quote unquote sometimes actually fixing X thing. They've
always had like
the staples.
Yeah, and they've always had the most expensive. I mean, like the $7,000 computer that they just announced. Like they've always had the most expensive powerhouse like things that you could buy. I mean, you could drop like a crazy amount of money on a MacBook or on a Power Mac.
For a while, wasn't that like the only serious place for like animation houses to actually render things? Was on like the older Mac towers.
Somewhat. There was always alternatives. I used to get in debates with the 3D guys at my old place that they swore up and down about PCs and said, the GPUs on PCs, like the whole gaming thing, like that's the only way to go.
Yeah.
And Macs are overrated or what have you. So
and, I'm sure. How is the CAD software for Tomahawk missiles?
It was e-learning for GM products.
It's actually pretty damn good, by the way.
In any regard, this is a really weird play for Apple because it's like, wow, you guys are just going after this thing that is probably never going to get out of.
Right. They are trying to create a market where there isn't one, as opposed to just own an existing one.
Yes.
I think that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. But even then, create a market that doesn't exist, which it does exist, but a market that's probably
what I mean. A market that would be worth their time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably never exactly. You said it 100%. Is it going to be that big? I don't know. I don't see everybody. Even if they lower the price to $200.
I think the only way I'll know for sure is to get one of these bad boys on my fucking face.
So please send one.
Has there been anybody seen the specs on how much this thing weighs?
It's really heavy.
Apparently pretty hefty.
Yeah, because
once again, to our battery life. Thank you, Tim Cook.
Aluminum. Not only is it heavy, but so they have the back strap, and anyone who's ever worn one of these, you have to have the top strap, because if you just have the back strap, all the pressure just rusts down on your nose and your face.
Yeah.
They show a head strap, but it's probably going to be like $100 more.
Yeah, it's
going to be extra. No, because another big issue, as we've talked about this before,
and it's custom size. You can't just grab one
with any of these devices. Is
fatigue.
It's the fatigue, the neck strain, and the whiplash, and all that kind of stuff.
You don't understand.
Tim Cook will actually hold up your head.
Do you know how they have the
That's
fan
fair.
hole? How people are like, oh, it's got fans. That's going to be annoying. Those aren't for cooling the hardware.
Yeah, that's
just
it hovers it.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off. That's why the battery life's only 2 hours. Is because it has there's a bunch of little helicopters in there.
That is
like
pretty
a drone
good.
on your face.
It's
will the ecosystem hold it for me? That's really what I want to know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's whatever.
Not with that.
I mean, I guess good for them,
be
because no
interesting
matter
to see
what
where it
happens to the
goes.
VR industry, there's two final things that will occur. One, this will be just lost and forgotten, and everybody will edit it out of their minds, and Apple will still be the most innovative, creative company ever in existence.
And two, the heat death of the universe.
It'll be wildly the VR industry, AR VR industry will be wildly successful, and they'll take full credit.
Yeah.
We did it all, man.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
It plays both sides.
They're basically going to be like, the VR space was a dying thing until we came along.
Exactly. That's
If
exactly
Apple
what they'll
loses-
say.
If Apple loses,
And they'll pull graphs from Meta, showing their stock tumbling down, and this is where we stepped in.
When I created this
We bailed them out by
VR
buying
this
them for
VR product, you'll
$700.
notice that all of the critics said that I was creating this in a space that has not taken off yet, and I say to them, look where it is now.
Mark Zuckerberg built this in a cave with a box of scraps.
I'm not Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh man.
I
think we exhausted this subject. Unless you guys
my brain it's making my brain buzz. I want to see it.
No, that's what I said earlier in our Slack channel. One thing's for sure, this is the most talked about WWDC in a long time.
That's what they spent to build this $1 billion.
Remember last year?
Nothing.
Or the last one when we were just making fun of the Apple Bible, and I think we were making fun of the iPhone.
That wasn't WWDC. That was their fall event. But
sorry.
We've not been doing this for a year.
I was like, was that overlapping? I don't even know.
Can I say?
No.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing negative about I'm
You're gonna say
I'm
something
playing
negative about Apple?
the one side. I picked a hill to die on because you guys didn't want to die there, and so I'm just being a bitch. But
you're totally not a fanboy at all.
one thing, no, I just have all of the other ones. I'm trying to collect them all.
Every other Mac device that ever
But,
existed is at Drew's
Do you have the
house.
pencil?
No, but he's
gave that
actually
to
got.
my,
If you look on his wall,
fiance,
he's got a deconstructed first edition iPhone on his fucking wall. He's not. And what's the one next to it? And is that an iWatch
That's
over
the
there?
that's first generation.
Apple, yeah, first gen Apple Watch deconstructed.
Which, by the way, speaking of
Not a fanboy
bringing,
at all.
you can get Apple Watch for $280 in this first iteration that they rolled out, you could get it for $15,000, the gold one. Which, holy
that's
shit,
really
by the
cool.
way, how are you doing?
That's a gold
if you
watch,
did that?
though. That's
I know,
yeah,
but no, but
it's
even
like
the
a Rolex
regular ones were like
or something,
$800. So like,
Yeah.
no, they're
watch.
expensive for sure.
basically,
Nobody needs a watch.
they've like lowered the entry by like 60%, right? So I have no reason to
that's
believe
good.
that it's not going to be. But the one thing about the actual the presentation that they should have fucking cut because it's demonic. And like if
The recording kids?
yeah, no, the ones where he's like playing with his kids and he's got the headset
Yeah.
on. It's supposed to be this like, oh, look at him go, and it looks at him and it's just like he's this barrier between him and his family.
Hey, girls.
And, right. No, and then there's like later he's like watching it and it's like I'm sure that the experience of like and they're probably gonna put the 3D cameras in the iPhone. Like this is the only thing this is not a thing that you should ever. I will kill you if you put one of these things on and just walk around recording shit. No. Do not do that. I think they'll put the 3D camera tech in the iPad at least, and then you'll be able to view it in the thing. But they put
share a clip
they
of
watched
that
it this
from
fucking
the
fucking
demo.
wall. Insane.
It gives you creepy vibes for sure.
It made me
just
sad.
He's on one knee and his daughters, assuming it's his daughters, the actors, are playing like on the floor and he's just like on one knee.
He's actually in VR
It's
getting
not
his
even-
dick
it's not even
sucked
so
by a
that's-
virtual person.
It's not even that it's creepy to me. It's like sad. Like it fills me with
is sad.
that's the dystopian. Like the people who not only are like, yeah, no, people will be wearing this around all the time that aren't immediately horrified by that. Right, like because the Apple Pro 16 has the homelessness removal that it will in real time remove homeless people from your
The
view.
TikTok video that I shared, I don't know who it was.
Wait, are you fucking serious?
The homeless removal?
Yeah.
I don't even know what he's talking about. I think he's
I'm saying that
I
like the
think he's
people who
doing
want that
hyperbole right now.
the people who want that future like want everybody in their own little zones so that
But
they
that's
can
what
walk
somebody-
around and never have to
somebody-
see homeless people. That's what
somebody
I'm
on
joking.
Oh, okay.
pointed
So
out.
I thought you were serious for a second there. I mean, it sounded a little far fetched, but still, you never know.
Someone on TikTok pointed out the recovery from the pandemic, we're talking worldwide, and people are seeking more connection than ever, staring at your devices all the time and the screen time, and people are trying to, seek human connection. And that is the backdrop in which a $3,500 VR headset is released. And it's like, I know you can see person's eyes and they can actually interact, but it is very dystopian in the whole like disconnected.
This is also still like the same environment where the gig economy is like falling apart and struggling, and people are begging for tips on DoorDash, and people are still like not making any more money. They're losing money. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, here's the cool thing about this though.
Late
With
stage
Apple
capitalism.
With Apple Vision Pro, if you put it on when you go outside to get your food from your Dasher, it will always look like they're smiling and happy to see you.
That's true.
That is true.
Why don't they just make it a whole mask?
Yeah, why don't they just take your brain out of your skull and put it in a fucking tube?
Like, isn't that what Elon is
That's
trying
Elon.
to do with like?
Elon's doing
Well,
that.
he's doing it in reverse.
Neuralink.
He's sneaking the machines in rather than pulling the brain out.
We've already talked for almost 50 minutes, so we should
partner-
probably.
One more thing. Can I talk to you guys in the corner for a second? One thing, please.
No.
Please, Carl, please.
No.
Please. It's
No
worth
corner.
it. It's worth it.
Fine.
Stop
Okay.
at the corner,
So
Dad.
here's the thing.
Take your goggles off.
People, they had to do a lot of work to distract from the fact that this is for pornography. This is only for porn. There is the only app that matters. It doesn't have a killer app. Yeah, it does. It's called Safari. And you do not understand the economics of the world you live in if you think that people will not buy greatest dollar for dollar.
You can do that
porn
right
machine.
now, though, with a cheaper device, right?
Yeah, in 8K, I don't think so.
Japan makes plenty of porn devices that are far superior.
Only watch my porn in 4K for each eyeball
I'm just waiting for the Apple Ass to come
with
out.
zero
you know?
latency because of the R1 chip.
The asshole. The R1.
What do you think an Apple sex toy would do?
It would go on your face
Like,
and while
do
you
it
watch
better.
porn. In
It would do it
real-
better than any other
Think of
device.
like an Apple fleshlight. Would it like you'd be jerking it or something like that, and then it's like you get a call on it or something like that. Like it's like ding. It's like, do you want to take this at your computer or do you
Yeah, it's
want to
called
take it on your VR headset? Yeah, it's called handoff, all right. Yeah, it's called hand on and off.
All the Google blogs, though, were just so depressed because they're like,
Yeah.
I don't know why they thought this would happen, but they thought that Apple would announce the RCS, the standard for text messages.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that's
Fuck you.
SMS.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, they're not. They're never going to do that. I don't know why.
Let's do the album on display.
Why would we do that?
There's
Why
a
would
whole
we do that?
there's a whole campaign. Google has a whole campaign to try to talk them into doing it.
That gives the Apple even less reason to do it. They don't want to look like bitches.
Yeah. All right, album on display.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I know. This is definitely a tough one.
I actually have. I mean, that person looks very familiar to me, though. All right, so it looks like it might be either a maroon or a brownish background. Very dark. There's like a woman on there with her arms crossed in a black shirt. Looks like blonde hair, white woman.
You can see that her arms are crossed.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
Younger. I mean, to me, she kind of looks like Madonna in a way, like a young Madonna. From here, probably not though. She actually looks like. You ever seen Ozark?
Mm-hmm.
She looks like I forget her name. The girl who he ends up hiring that works at the bar.
Yeah,
kind of looks like her.
Yeah.
What's her name again?
Did Elizabeth
her?
Holmes do an album?
Is that her?
Could be.
Is that
be
the
her too, but
Theranos? Is that
it's neither of these
ex-Theranos
people. No.
CEO
All right,
convicted of fraud?
give us a hint,
Elizabeth
Randy.
Holmes?
It's released in 2017 on ATO
fuck.
Records.
Okay.
She was in a family band. This is her fourth
Janet
album.
Jackson.
I don't
Not
think
that,
so.
more of a bluegrass folky. She's from Kent, Ohio. Her brother's also he's a musician.
You know, this
I don't
game is
know.
fucking over for you once I get a pair of these
Steve-
fucking sets.
Steve Shelley of Sonic Youth actually plays drums on
Optical
this.
zoom.
Yeah, Sonic Youth is trash. I don't know anything about them. So, is she a new artist in 2017, or is this just a 2017
This is her fourth
album?
record. She's
Okay.
been putting out stuff since she was like 8 or something.
8. Okay.
Yeah, since she was really young.
Brooke Shields.
Have I heard any of her music?
She had a bit of a hit on this album. I don't know if it's like big enough where you would have heard it though. This is
Alright.
probably the toughest one I've ever.
All right. Yeah,
presented
I got
to
nothing,
this.
Drew. Do you know?
Fiona Apple.
That's a good guess.
Does look like Fiona Apple too.
It's Jessica Lea Mayfield,
Never heard of her.
and the album is "Sorry Is Gone."
She looks like Sorry Is Gone.
But it's got like it's a bit of like an alt country esque.
You listening to all country? No way.
She's open for like the Black Keys, the Avett Brothers. I think one of the Avett Brothers actually played on this album as well. A Band of Horses, Ryan Adams.
The album, based on the album, like the cover alone, it looks like this is a fuck you type album. Like I'm over you kind of thing.
Yeah. She has that actually.
Sorry
This,
is gone,
this album,
Carl.
I guess, is
No more sorry.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like it looks like it. It looks like she's like, you know what? We're done.
according
Yeah,
to
you know what?
interviews.
Sorry
this
is gone. Sorry is gone.
According to interviews, this is a deeply personal album because it's actually it touches
sorry.
on subjects of domestic abuse.
Oh,
She was
fuck.
divorced
Scrub my jokes.
A husband who
Sorry.
was abusive. So it's all right, man. You don't know. You didn't know. How would you know?
Yeah, but it's honestly at this point it's my own. I do kind of come out swinging in that same general direction.
You guys noticed we got an email, right? Somebody asked us, what is Web3 other than complete garbage?
No, I think that's it. That answers the question. That's it.
But what is what
Episode
really is
36,
what,
ladies
No,
and
but what really is Web3? Because it's getting
Oh, there's
tossed
5
around
minutes
a lot.
left in the.
Drew, you got 5 minutes. Talk about Web3. Go.
Okay.
without using the word crypto.
So
Yeah.
you know
Or
how,
blockchain.
You know how money. You know money. What if you had money but it wasn't actually worth anything?
Yeah. So, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't know how to describe Web3 without talking about blockchain and NFTs and crypto.
I mean, that is.
You gotta. It's
Basically,
like
that's basically all it is, right?
you know, like how you can save information on a computer. What if you had the ability to save information on a computer in the most annoying fucking way possible?
Okay,
Would
so-
you like that?
So Windows.
Okay, and more of a devil's advocate for you guys like tearing it apart. I like to view it in a little bit more of a wholesome lens, which is what BitTorrent introduced, decentralized. Actually, with Silicon Valley, the dream of what is it? Hendrix, what's his name? What's the
the Web
character?
2.0.
Yeah, where he wanted to do a decentralized internet, where the internet would exist on every individual device, and you wouldn't need centralized servers and what have you. So BitTorrent introduced that, but it was completely flawed in one major way, which is there was no real encryption, there was no real safety. The data could be manipulated, the data could be corrupted, what have you.
And you were also trackable by your IP address.
100%, yeah. So there was no obfuscation, there was no security whatsoever. Web3 introduces that concept, but in a secure fashion
With blockchain.
with blockchain.
Did that?
But other than
But then
does
all
it.
they did was just spin it to try to make more
that
money.
technology does
Yeah.
exist. It's called HTTPS.
It's not decentralized,
but
though.
HTTPS is not decentralized, exactly.
But-
We're talking
so-
blockchain. The whole point is like storing packets and then reassembling those. So the packets could actually be
with a
like,
ledger.
Yeah, it's decentralized. I mean, that's
the closest. So the closest thing,
core tenant.
So the closest that actually there is a blockchain project that does exist called like Storj, STORJ, and that's the basic premise. I think that another thing in the Silicon Valley show that he was talking about was not just splitting up the storage, but also splitting up compute, and that is a very cool thing to me. I don't think you need a distributed ledger to orchestrate that, though.
I agree with.
Yeah.
I think it's overkill and that's why it's gravitated, in my opinion, that's why it's gravitated toward crypto and NFTs and all that other bullshit.
Yeah, I haven't really seen it get used in anything else, really.
No, but there was a dream of it being used all over. The blockchain was going to be everything.
Yeah.
And then it turns out, you know what? It's kind
of a pain in the ass.
Exactly. But the funniest thing about blockchain stuff is this whole, we don't need a centralized, like they keep reinventing central banking and like rediscovering like why central banking happened, because it's fucking hard to have a financial system without the ability for somebody to be like, wait, actually, hold on. This invisible hand of the market or whatever, it's just like people conning each other all the time. And so if you don't have some way to like counterbalance that human nature, which is usually communism, but in neoliberal, which ideally is communism or socialism, but neoliberal world says it can just be people that like every 10th person who does wire fraud goes to jail. You can't do anything. So they're like, oh, my apes are gone. Sorry, all your apes are gone. The FBI cannot find your apes.
Yep. Poor apes. Up next, do you guys want to talk about ChatGPT versus the other guy? What was it?
Bard,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we'll probably
Next
be able to
time?
squeeze that in.
Yeah, fuck.
Sorry, Bard.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope
Maybe
that answered your
Apple
question, anonymous
that's what
anonymous reader, anonymous messenger about blockchain. It was my partner.
Why isn't Apple
my partner.
getting into that game?
She didn't.
Drew?
She didn't actually send us an email.
What?
Why don't they have an AI?
Well, they do. It's called Siri, and it's the best personal assistant in the world.
That's come on.
No, it
Come
sucks ass.
on.
It sucks
But
ass. Which is why
they're waiting. They're waiting. They're gonna come out.
No,
with
that
like
is the thing, like-
Apple AI. It's actually they're just gonna call it Apple Intelligence, and it's gonna be like
This is
they're
another
gonna
example of
Apple.
of
This is the main thing.
everyone editing out the failures.
Apple, well, I think this is, if you're Apple, this is like kind of fucking weird for you, because think about how far generative random content is from Apple's whole fucking thing. Like, of course they have ML stuff. They have customized ML chips, which is what positions them really well to be able to run this type of technology on device, which is huge for privacy and latency. This particular thing, like, that's how to suggest you things that like are already that exist. They're basically recommendations.
This is actually, the generative AI is positioned to eat Apple's lunch, because all of Apple's focus on the software side is
polish
the powerhouse working tools. Like, I want to be the best to create images, video, audio. It should be the best generative platform for creators to create.
Right.
And now all of a sudden this agent's going to step in and be like, yeah, we don't need any of your
Nobody's
stuff.
actually buying that anymore. So all of the people you're selling to aren't going to have any money anymore. So they can't buy your stuff.
Exactly. We don't need the best processor to work Adobe Premiere or whatever. We just need
API keys.
API keys, exactly, and I'll just do it on the server. It's done. It's in the cloud, and you're done.
Yeah, that's all Azure. That's all everything's coming up Azure.
So they're positioning to that. It's like, what are you? Like, I mean, how do you position yourself? I don't even know.
I mean,
it's what these AI things and generative AIs don't have, though, is the ecosystem, and the ecosystem is what carries Apple through everything.
Fuck off. I don't.
Episode 36, everybody. Episode 36.
We are not going to see.
We have a YouTube account. What is it, Randy?
YouTube.com at We Do Crime.
And we have voicemail at We Do Crime /voicemail.
WeDoCrime.com/voicemail.
Yeah. All right.
Leave us a voicemail. Don't pass it through Carl in some weird, nefarious
I just
operation.
thought it would be kind of fun to lie about it, but it was my partner. She was talking to me about it a little bit because she didn't see anything with. She doesn't ever hear anything about like Web3 that's not related to crypto. So she was wondering if there's anything else, and I was like, not really. Not really.
We're just gonna have to skip
distributed identity stuff like that's which is
I know that was a big thing.
The core tenet of it is the blockchain shit, but I just don't. Yeah. There's so few benefits over just fucking, and a lot more risks over. Just a good old fashioned database.
Yep. All right, we love you.
Yeah,
except for Drew, if you're not a Mac user.
that's
Yeah.
not true at all.
It's very true.
I think you're
All right.
beautiful. And I think you're beautiful, and
Goodbye.
I hope you get better.
Now watch this drive.
So we have to protect our genius.
We're not selling anybody's data.
Now watch this drive.
I have a son. He's 10 years old. He has computers.